France, a country located in Western Europe, has experienced many major storms in its history, leaving a deep mark on the damage and impact on the lives of its people. One of the most terrible storms was the Lothar storm in December 1999, when it devastated northern and central France with winds of up to 170 km/h. The storm caused extensive damage, with more than 90 people killed and millions of homes without electricity for several days. Large areas of forest in France were also severely damaged, especially in the Fontainebleau and Versailles regions, where ancient trees covered the stage. In December 1999, France witnessed one of the most devastating natural disasters in its history when Hurricane Lothar made landfall. With winds of up to 170 km/h, the storm swept across northern and central France, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. In less than 24 hours, Lothar caused untold damage, killing more than 90 people and injuring hundreds more. Lothar's ferocious winds destroyed countless structures and infrastructure. Millions of homes were left without power, and the outage lasted for days, and in some areas, weeks. The disruption of the power grid made it difficult to maintain essential services, such as clean water, heating during the cold winter, and emergency medical services. Thousands of families were left without electricity, water, or basic necessities. The great forests of France, especially those of Fontainebleau and Versailles, were severely damaged. Strong winds toppled thousands of ancient trees, creating unprecedented scenes of devastation. Many of these trees had existed for hundreds of years, and their loss was not only an environmental loss, but also a cultural and historical loss. The lush forests, once a favorite destination for residents and tourists, were turned into desolate areas, littered with fallen trees and debris from the storm. In addition to damage to the power grid and forests, Storm Lothar also destroyed thousands of roofs, shattered windows, and flooded many areas. Many structures, including solid buildings, could not withstand the force of the winds and were severely damaged. Villages, towns, and cities were devastated, and thousands of people had to be evacuated urgently to avoid danger. The storm also caused serious disruptions to transportation. Numerous rail and road links were blocked by fallen trees and landslides. Major airports were forced to close, and many flights were canceled or delayed. This caused major disruption to the movement of people and disrupted the supply chain of essential goods across the country. In addition, the economic damage caused by Storm Lothar was enormous, with estimates running into billions of euros. The French economy was severely affected, especially in industries such as agriculture, forestry, and tourism. The recovery from the storm required a large amount of government resources, including infrastructure reconstruction, financial support for affected populations, and restoration of the natural environment. Just 2 days after Storm Lothar devastated parts of northern and central France, Storm Martin has made landfall in the southwest of the country, bringing with it ferocious winds of up to 180 km/h, adding to the devastation. Areas already devastated by Lothar are now being hit by another devastating storm, leaving millions of people in dire straits. Martin has not only caused loss of life and property, but has also completely disrupted transport and communications in many areas, making relief efforts extremely difficult. Storm Martin swept through towns and villages, tearing roofs off homes, collapsing walls, and leaving many areas underwater. Bridges, roads, and transport infrastructure were severely damaged, with hundreds of ancient trees uprooted and blocking major roads, making travel extremely dangerous. Coastal areas of France, such as Bordeaux and La Rochelle, were particularly hard hit as the storm brought high waves and strong winds, increasing the risk of flooding and damage to coastal structures. In addition to affecting infrastructure, Martin also caused widespread power outages across the affected areas, with more than 3 million households left without electricity and clean water for several days. France's energy supply was severely damaged, forcing the government to mobilize military forces and emergency units from all over the country to restore power and ensure clean water for the people. The consequences of storms Martin and Lothar have left deep scars in the memories of the French people. With a total estimated damage of up to 15 billion euros, this is one of the largest natural disasters that France has faced in the 20th century. The French government had to quickly deploy all possible resources to overcome the consequences of these storms. Emergency relief operations were organized, from providing food and drinking water to isolated areas, to financial support and home repairs for affected families. The Great Storm of 1987 was one of the most devastating natural disasters that northern France has ever faced, not only because of its destructive power, but also because of the surprise it brought. When the storm hit with winds of up to 200 km/h, villages and cities along the French coast were thrown into chaos. Trees were uprooted, roofs were ripped off, and buildings were destroyed in an instant. One of the notable features of this storm was the lack of preparedness of both the authorities and the people. Weather forecasts at the time were unable to accurately predict the severity of the storm, resulting in people not having enough time to prepare or evacuate. As a result, when the storm hit, thousands of people were left in a dangerous situation, not knowing what to do to protect themselves and their families. The storm claimed 15 lives and left thousands homeless. Many people were forced to evacuate their homes in the harsh conditions, as strong winds and heavy rains increased the risk of flooding and landslides. Infrastructure, including roads, bridges, and power lines, was severely damaged, disrupting travel and basic services for days. In addition to the loss of life and property, the Great Storm also had a major impact on the environment. Large areas of forest, especially in Normandy and Brittany, were devastated, with millions of trees falling. This not only ruined the natural beauty of the area, but also affected the ecosystem and economic activities related to forestry and tourism. In the aftermath of the storm, France faced a massive recovery effort. Rescue teams and volunteers from all over were mobilized to help those affected, from providing food and temporary shelter to restoring basic infrastructure. Clearing the rubble, rebuilding homes, and restoring power and transport systems was a long and difficult process. The Great Storm also changed the French government's approach to forecasting and preventing natural disasters. Weather forecasting and early warning systems were significantly improved, with investment in new technology and training of specialist staff. The government also introduced stricter building regulations to ensure that new structures could withstand future strong storms. This event left a profound lesson on the need to always be prepared and vigilant against natural disasters, as well as the importance of taking timely preventive measures and responding to minimize damage to the community. Recent storms, such as Hurricane Cynthia in 2010, which killed 59 people and caused widespread flooding, have made it clearer than ever that it is important to strengthen disaster preparedness measures in France. These events not only highlight the potential dangers of extreme weather events, but also provide valuable lessons about the need for preparedness and timely response to natural challenges. The French government, with support from the international community, has been working to improve early warning systems and strengthen infrastructure to minimize the damage from similar disasters in the future. These measures include investing in more advanced forecasting technology, upgrading drainage systems, and building more resilient structures to withstand the unpredictable force of storms. These efforts are aimed at ensuring the safety of people and minimizing property damage in the increasingly complex context of climate change. Winter in France is famous for its romantic beauty and charming landscapes. But when the weather turns harsh, it can also turn into a serious disaster. While winter brings with it the sight of pure white snow, soft light, and exciting winter sports, it can also have disastrous consequences for people's daily lives. When the cold winter turns into a disaster, snowstorms, hail, and extremely low temperatures not only disrupt lives but also cause serious damage to infrastructure and the economy. Over the years, winters in France have seen heavy snowstorms and severe hail. One of the more memorable was the winter of 2009 to 2010, when back-to-back snowstorms had devastating effects. Paris and many other major cities were blanketed in heavy snow, making public and road transport difficult. Trains and buses were delayed or canceled, causing major disruption to travel and daily life. Many areas were cut off, reducing access to essential services. In January 2018, France experienced another major snowstorm, with hail and extremely low temperatures. The storm brought down trees and damaged infrastructure, causing power and water outages in many areas. The combination of snow and hail made roads extremely slippery, causing traffic accidents and disrupting daily activities. When winter turns into a disaster, the impact on people's daily lives is obvious. Streets are covered in snow, and furniture in homes is not spared from the destruction of frozen water. Many families face power outages and heating systems that fail, making life difficult. Extremely low temperatures can cause serious health problems, from colds to heat stroke. Businesses and establishments were also hit hard by the harsh winter. Many eateries, restaurants, and hotels were forced to close due to floodwaters or infrastructure problems. The tourism industry, which relies on winter weather, was also hit as ski resorts were forced to suspend operations or reduce capacity. As the harsh winter season turns into a disaster, both communities and authorities have to quickly deploy emergency measures to deal with the situation. Continuous snowstorms cover roads and residential areas in thick snow, blocking traffic and paralyzing daily activities. In this situation, rescue teams and road workers work tirelessly, despite the harsh weather conditions, to ensure that people can move safely. They use specialized machinery and vehicles such as snowplows, bulldozers, and large trucks to clear the roads, removing tons of snow in a short period of time. This work requires not only quick thinking, but also a spirit of resilience in the face of hardship and fatigue. Meanwhile, major roads are prioritized to clear the way for emergency vehicles, ambulances, and convoys delivering essential supplies to the heavily affected areas. In addition, charities and government agencies are working together to support those most affected. Temporary care centers are being set up in hotspots to provide safe shelter, food, water, and other necessities to those who are isolated or homeless. Areas without electricity or running water are also being supported with emergency supplies. Not only the authorities, but also the local community played an important role in overcoming the consequences of the disaster. People worked together to clean up the affected areas, supporting each other in ensuring safety and maintaining daily activities. The spirit of solidarity and kindness was clearly demonstrated during these difficult days, when the whole community together overcame the challenges posed by the harsh winter. Train and bus routes were disrupted, while many flights were delayed or canceled, causing major disruption to travel and daily life. People who rely on public transport to get to work, school, or access essential services faced uncertainty and hardship. Many areas were completely cut off by heavy snow, making access to health services, food, and water extremely difficult. In this context, delays and disruptions not only caused stress for people, but also had a profound impact on economic and social activities in the affected areas. In the worst-hit areas, daily life has come to a standstill. Shops, restaurants, and businesses have been closed, leaving people unable to go out to shop or access basic services. Schools have also been forced to close, with students having to miss school for extended periods, affecting their learning. Families living in isolated areas have had to rely on existing supplies or support from the community and charities, as access to basic necessities has become extremely difficult. In this situation, charities and governments have set up temporary care centers, providing shelter, food, water, and essential items to those stranded in the snow. This support has been a lifeline for many, helping them get through the cold and dangerous days. At the same time, medical teams were also mobilized to ensure the health of those facing difficulties in the harsh weather, especially the elderly, children, and those with underlying medical conditions. Winter in France, despite its harsh challenges and serious consequences, still shines with a unique beauty that cannot be found anywhere else. White snow covers the roads, buildings, and parks, turning everything into a sparkling fairy tale. The government has had to spend a lot of money to fix the damage caused by the cold weather, from maintaining infrastructure to supporting people to overcome difficulties. However, in that freezing cold, France still brings a magical winter, attracting the attention of millions of tourists from all over the world. The development of winter tourism is not only a source of pride for France, but also a significant contribution to the national economy. Tourism services such as hotels, restaurants, and tours have created more jobs and increased income for local people. Winter, with all its hardships and beauty, has become an indispensable part of French life and economy, helping the country not only overcome challenges but also thrive. Besides the romance and charm of winter in France, a winter covered with soft white snow, light gray sky, and a characteristic chilly air also brings an indescribable sense of peace. The small streets of Paris become quieter. The lights from the cafe windows reflect on the newly fallen snow, creating a picturesque scene. The Christmas markets are brightly lit with colorful stalls, becoming an ideal destination for both locals and tourists. The aroma of toasted bread and hot chocolate spreads in the air, making everyone want to stop and enjoy. Winter in France, with all its different aspects, from harsh to beautiful, is not just a time of year, but also a part of the life, culture, and economy of this country. The balance between the challenges and the beauty of winter creates a comprehensive picture, reflecting the resilient and creative spirit of the French people in conquering nature and turning it into an advantage, contributing to the prosperous development of the country.